Friends, good morning to all of you. Today's topic is farming system for sustainable agriculture. The topic will cover basics of sustainable agriculture, farming systems, sericulture and agroforestry, the allied enterprises. And basic of sustainable agriculture, we should understand what is the definition. A system of agriculture that is committed to maintain and preserve the natural resource base of soil, water and atmosphere, and ensuring future generations the capacity to feed them with an adequate supply of safe and wholesome food. Positive aspect of modern agriculture are high yield and faster returns, and it increases mechanization, intensive cropping, new varieties of crop plants are used, maximum utilization of land and water, meeting the need of sufficient food and immediate and direct supply of nutrients through fertilizers. Positive aspects of sustainable agriculture are no sophisticated imported technology is necessary, environmental conservation and protection, healthy atmospheric or healthy food, and prevents or avoids ecological degradation, high levels of disease and pest resistance, sustained soil fertility, greater biodiversity, efficient use of natural resources and self-sustaining. There are of course many negative aspects of modern agriculture like short-term benefits, high cost of production and depletion of soil fertility, environmental pollution, health hazards, increased dependency on external inputs, less diversification, and of course it creates economic disparity in the society widens. And negative aspects of sustainable agriculture are many. For example, longer time to realize the benefits, and change is gradual, difficult to motivate farmers, comparatively labor intensive, needs proper planning, and initial yields are low. Of course, these were the few limitations of sustainable agriculture. And what are the principles of sustainable agriculture? It is interrelatedness of all the farming systems and need to maximize desired biological relationships, application of proper experience and latest scientific advances to create integrated farming systems, reduce environmental degradation, maintain agricultural productivity, promote economic viability, and no overburden on natural resource base. Now, let us understand what is farming system or integrated farming system. It is a resource management strategy to achieve economic and sustained production to meet diverse requirement of farm household. As we know that farm household is the unit of farming system, and it preserves the natural resource base and ensures environmental quality and maintaining desirable levels of biological diversity. Farming system concept, it is combination of one or more enterprises. Anytime two or more enterprises are required to be combined, planning for effective integration of the enterprises is must, and sustainability is the objective of the farming system. What are the components of this integrated farming system? Like olericulture is vegetable production, pomology, floriculture, pisciculture, field crops, duckery, apiary, poultry, and variety of other enterprises are there. What are the principles of farming system? We should know it, and the topmost principle is minimization of the risk, recycling of waste and residues, integration of two or more enterprises, maximum productivity and profitability, ecological balance is to be maintained, and generation of employment potential, which is very important, and increased input use efficiency, use of end products is also important principle. Now, terminology related to farming system. Cropping system, it is principles and practices of cropping and their interaction with farm resources, technology, aerial and edaphic environment to suit the needs and production strategy. It is an important component of farming system. Cropping pattern, the yearly sequence and spatial arrangement of crop or of crops and fallow on a given area, maybe a farm, maybe a region or province or a country, is your cropping pattern. Multiple cropping is of two types. One is sequential cropping, other is intercropping. Sequential cropping is actually growing two or more crops in a sequence on the same field in a year. Succeeding crop is planted after the harvest of the preceding one, and crop intensification is in time dimension. No intercrop competition exists in the sequential cropping, and farmers manage only one crop at a time. Intercropping, it is growing of two or more dissimilar crops simultaneously on the same piece of land in distinct row arrangement. The optimum plant population of base crop is combined with appropriate population of the intercrop. Intensification of cropping both in time and space is there in the intercropping. Sericulture and agroforestry, these are the two very important enterprises of farming system. Let us start with sericulture. It involves mulberry cultivation, silkworm rearing, reeling of the silk from the cocoons. And as we know, India produces about 0.14 lakh tons of raw silk from a mulberry cropped area of 2.82 lakh hectares. Moriculture, it is cultivation of mulberry plant, this moriculture, and there are of course 20 species of mulberry, but only 4 are commonly cultivated, that is Morus alba, Morus indica, Morus serrata and Morus latifolia. And recommended dose of NPK is 120, 50 and 50 kg per hectare under rain-fed situation, and 300, 120 and 120 kg NPK per hectare under the irrigated conditions. Varieties of mulberry are Kanwa 2, S13, S30, S36, etc. Spacing optimum is 90 by 90 centimeter under rain-fed conditions, and under irrigated condition it is little wider, 120 by 60 centimeter, and propagated by cuttings, and planting season is from July to August, and crop can give good yield only for 12 years, but afterwards we need to get the new planting. The yield of mulberry leaves is 30 to 40 tons per hectare. Silkworm rearing is another activity in the sericulture, and there are 4 types of silkworms. One is mulberry silkworm, other is eri silkworm, tasar silkworm, moga silkworm. And rearing house should have temperature of 24 to 28 degrees centigrade and humidity of 70 to 85%. It depends upon the silkworm stage, that is instar stage. Initially the disease-free laying DFL or egg cards are collected from a government granage and kept for hatching in a dark and cool place. One DFL is equivalent to 400 eggs. After hatching, brushing, that is transferring of hatched larvae into rearing trays is done. The space requirement for 100 DFLs is 4 to 14 meters square during first instar to 181 to 360 meters square during the 5th instar stage. The newly hatched larvae after 1 hour of hatching gets ready to feed on mulberry leaves. During the 5th instar stage, that is after 5 days of the 4th mold, the silkworm become fully matured and ready to spin into a cocoon. This is the last stage of rearing operation. After this stage, the mature silkworms are transferred onto the cocoon frames or montages for spinning of cocoons. Agroforestry, it is very important component of farming system. It involves deliberate introduction or retention of woody components with agricultural crops, including pastures, livestock, simultaneously or sequentially on the same unit of land. It fulfills varied need of the farmer, that is food, fuel, fodder and employment. And there are 2 broader groups of agroforestry. One is multifunctional agroforestry systems in India, other is agroforestry systems for sustained agricultural production. We will discuss one by one. Now, agroforestry for soil buildup. The maintenance and enhancement of soil fertility is very important for sustained food production. Ecologically sound agroforestry systems such as intercropping and mixed arable livestock systems can increase the sustainability of agricultural production. Alternate land use systems such as agri-horticultural, agri-silvicultural and silvipasture are more effective for soil organic matter restoration. Agroforestry for economic gain, where we want to earn more profit. In this case, integration of fruit or economically important trees with arable crops. Farmers in dry land areas are not getting sufficient net returns from traditional dry land crops like sorghum and smaller millets due to weather vagaries. Further, the economic returns are found to be in favor of agri-horticultural systems in dry land situation. Agroforestry as carbon sinks. If trees are harvested accompanied by regeneration of the area and sequestered carbon is logged through non-destructive, that is non-CO2 emitting use of such wood. Carbon management through afforestation and reforestation in degraded natural forests. In India, sequestration potential in agroforestry has been estimated to be 25 tons carbon per hectare over 96 million hectare land. Agroforestry for biodiversity. It is assumed that agroforestry will lead to increased biodiversity. Agroforestry is typically less diverse than native forests, of course, but more diverse than the agriculture. Some trees will support more diversity than others, and the same species will invariably shelter and attract more wild fauna like in the natural habitat. These systems also act as refuge to biodiversity after catastrophic events such as fire. Now, agroforestry systems for sustained agricultural production, there are 4: agri-silvicultural system, alley cropping, silvi-horti, agri-horti system, and finally silvi-pastoral system. Now, agri-silvicultural system, the planting consists of both annual crops and perennial trees. Perennial trees are planted in a single row or multiple rows in strip at an interspace distance of 5 to 10 meters. Interspace is utilized for growing annual or seasonal crops. Ailanthus, Exela, Gigifus, Jujuba, Mahua, etc. could be grown along with bajra, jowar, sesamum as an intercrops. Alley cropping. It is planting perennial trees, shrubs yielding forage in rows with agricultural crops. This system with tree rows aligned along contours will control erosion and impart stability to the production. The hedge rows are pruned close to the ground, leaving 15 to 20 centimeter stumps. The perennial trees or shrubs are planted thick enough to act as barrier for runoff of excess water and soil erosion. Now, field crops are grown in alleys formed by rows of perennial trees. Suitable species are Lucina leucocephala, Glyricidia maculata, and Susbania aegyptica, and crops could be sorghum, safflower, or groundnut. Silvi-horti or agri-horti system. It is combination of agricultural crops, perennial trees, and fruit species in both arable and non-arable lands. Useful fruit species include cashew, bear, annonacea, falsa, mango, sapota, guava, tamarind, and jackfruit in regular strips or interplanted with silvi component, tree component. Silvipastoral system, tree species with fuel and fodder value, and grasses as understory, they protect marginal lands. The forage component need to be very hard, easily colonizing, palatable, nutritious, and with a strong establishment through roots or self-sown seeds. Species for arid and semi-arid areas are like Acacia tortilis, Albizia amara, Hardwickia pinnata. Lucina leucocephala can be grown with Sancrus ciliaris, Sancrus setigerus, Dicanthium annulatum, Chrysopogon fulvus, and Sehma nervosus. These are all grasses. However, legume species such as Styloxanthus, Macroptalium, Desmodium, and Desmanthum can also be used in this system. Silvipastoral system, tree species with fuel and fodder value, and grasses as understory, protect marginal lands. The forage component need to be very hard, easily colonizing, palatable, nutritious, having variety of nutrients, and with a strong establishment through roots or self-sown seeds. Species for arid and semi-arid areas like Acacia tortilis, Albizia amara, Hardwickia pinnata, Lucina leucocephala, and with Sancrus ciliaris, Sancrus setigerus, Dicanthium annulatum, Chrysopogon fulvus, Sehma nervosum, etc. These are all grass species which can very well combine with Lucina leucocephala, a kind of shrubby plant. And there are number of leguminous species which can be combined with the system like Styloxanthus, Macroptalium, Atropurpureum, that is known as Ceratro, Desmodium species, and Desmanthus species, and they also have multiple uses, like they fix nitrogen and they give fodder to the cattle. I can conclude that modern agriculture has many positive and negative impacts on soil, environment, productivity, and of course farm income. There is need to adopt sustainable agricultural practices like farming system approach, especially for small and marginal farmers. Farming system may have two or more components, that is enterprises, depending upon soil, climate, economic feasibility and farmers' interest. Sericulture, that is silkworm rearing, holds a great promise and it could be an important component of a farming system. Special care is required to raise the mulberry plants, worms and silk processing, and different agroforestry systems can improve soil fertility, water use efficiency, carbon sinks, biodiversity and farm income to sustain agricultural production. You could understood the topic very well, that is farming system for sustainable agriculture. If you have further queries or if you seek further information, you can go through the Manage website or you can contact Manage Hyderabad for reading material or any kind of study material. Thank you.